Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's TLMI Platinum Sponsor Lunch and Learn, brought to you by Heidelberg Gallus. Today's topic is trends in conventional and digital label technology. If you have any questions as we go throughout the webinar, please just put those in the Q&A. And I want to thank our presenters for being with us today. And I'm just going to get things started right away and turn it over to Alexander to make introductions.
Thank you very much for the quick introduction, and a warm welcome also from my side to everybody who managed to find the time to register and to join our short lunch and learn session today. Very much appreciated. As mentioned, we are going to talk about trends in conventional and digital label technology. We did put together a quick agenda. So first of all, we are going to talk a bit about the speakers. One will be obviously me, because I'm already speaking, and I'm accompanied by my dear colleague Werner Krummenacher, who is here as replacement for the already announced Marian, who had to unfortunately call in sick. After that, we are going to give you a bit of an overview about the label business. I know that might sound strange on the first view because we are TLMI, so we all know label business. But I've seen that in the past, we should talk a bit, how do we define label business? Which part of the label business are we looking at? Because it's such a segmented market, as we all know. Following that, a bit of technology, a bit of market feedback, which we prepared and collected for you. And then we'll be quickly talking about the total cost of ownership. Not going to throw, during the total cost of ownership, I promise not going to throw too many numbers at you. Just a few examples where you can see where the difference between the different technologies lies. And then we're going to take a very short look at what we have to offer, the Gallus solution, the Gallus approach. You can call it whatever you want. And at the end, we will take, we're happy to go into a hopefully fruitful discussion with questions and hopefully a lot of answers. So let's dive into it. Just a very quick introduction about the speakers. You can see the one with the glasses on the left side of the screen that has my name to it, Alexander Kattner. Everybody calls me Alex, so don't worry about remembering the full name. I'm part of the product management for the digital label systems with Gallus since 2023. But in the printing industry and graphic arts industry, especially with manufacturers since almost 25 years now, been working in pre-press and printing companies, something like 10 years before that. Out of those 25 years with manufacturers, I would say roughly 10 years of experience in UV inkjet printing for the label industry. So I've been one of those who's been looking and involved in that technology pretty early. Before I can't stop myself, I prefer to hand over to Werner for his quick introduction about himself.
Thank you very much, Alex. Hello, everybody from my side once more. My name is Werner Krummenacher. I'm with Gallus since 2011, currently in the position of head of market region of all of the Americas. I've been with Gallus in various positions, started off in product management for our screen printing department in 2011, where I was responsible for all of the southern and western part of Europe and all of Africa. Then switched over to selling machine, basically our core business, machine sales. There I moved to Bangkok, Thailand, where I did that there for our regional sales office based out of Singapore. So basically selling in all of Southeast Asia. Then after that, moved to South Africa, Johannesburg, where I took over all of the market region of Africa and the Middle East out of Johannesburg. Then just before the pandemic, moved to London, UK, took over the Northern European market region and all of Scandinavia as well, included out of the UK. And when the pandemic hit, I decided to move back to Switzerland, join our team in headquarters, where I then took over the role that I'm in now. So basically, out of our head office in St. Gallen in Switzerland, supporting all our salespeople that are out there with our Heidelberg offices in North America, Central America, Mexico, and all of South America. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you very much. Since we now did the introduction, let's dive right into the topic. As mentioned, the label business. What are we speaking about? Label business, if you talk to people, are you doing labels? I've been speaking to so many companies which are doing labels in all kind of shape and form and application. You can find labels pretty much everywhere. A smaller label producer might be producing them for the goods he's producing himself. Like classical example would be a local honey producer, because his product needs a label and he might be producing them himself or together with his unification. When we look at the label business and we try to put it a bit into segments, you can see we've got the self-adhesive labels, pressure-sensitive labels. Clearly, that's where we all, I would expect, are coming from. Wet glue labels, also an existing market, in mold wraparound labels, shrink sleeves, and so on. So I've tried to put the first classification of the market into that slide, which you can see. The areas which are marked in red are wet glue labels, hang tag labels, in mold labels. That is a typical sheet fed application. This is, yep, that's an area where our parent company, Heidelberg, is very, very strong in the in mold, in the wet glue label, because that's a sheet fed business where you print on sheets of paper and then you apply it with the adhesive or with the in mold, put it into the injection. The market where we are mainly coming from, and that is the market we are going to look at most today, is clearly the green marked ones. Self-adhesive or pressure-sensitive labels, wraparound labels, and down at the bottom you see it, specialties, security labels, multi-layer labels. Those are the typical web-fed applications, and we are going to, when we talk about labels, mainly talk about those areas. So please don't mix it up with sheet-fed labels. When looking at that market, trying to start it with a bit of a basic information, what kind of technologies are we usually seeing in the landscape out there? On the conventional side, yep, it's definitely still flexo. That's why we marked it being the main technology. That is what we're seeing. That is what every company is using, which is into labels, depending on the region. But in North America, I would clearly see flexo being one of the main technologies. If you see it different or you disagree, I would appreciate if you could put a comment into the chat or into the Q&A, and that we can have a chat later on and see if we can make this a bit interactive. Also, what we are seeing, offset is still around. We did have machines and we still have machines where we can put offset stations in, letterpress, depending on the region, and gravure. Those are the four main technologies which we see. On the digital side, digital inkjet, liquid toner, dry toner, just to group it into the more professional ones. And then for the very small applications, you would be talking about thermo transfer and thermo direct printers. Some might wonder and say, hey, this is a Gallus guy and he doesn't talk about screen printing. We tried to limit this list a bit to the main printing technologies. And I personally would have moved screen printing more into the embellishment and finishing technologies instead of being a main printing technology. If you look at a typical label press, it will have screen stations on it, but not 8 screen stations and a die cutter. Something you will only very rarely see. So what we've tried now, and that is where I'm handing over to my colleague Werner, we did try to split those technologies a bit into the vertical markets. And I hope that we can manage to align it, that I do click at the right time when Werner needs me to click, because I'm sharing the presentation.
Otherwise, I'll tell you, Alex, no problem.
Yeah.
So this is where we're coming to basically combine what Alex just explained to you, those various technologies with the markets that are out there. So, and if you look at this graphic here, you see that on the bottom axis, you see what are the run lengths of your jobs today, depending on also what kind of application, what kind of industry you're serving. So, for example, you see that your food and dairy products, they are small to medium run lengths, whereas your large beverage jobs, they are very, very long run lengths. On the other hand, on the vertical axis, you see your value add applications. So the higher you go up, the more value add you add to your label. For example, you see on the bottom, on the top left, you see your wine and spirits. So there you have your labels that have high embellishments. They might have a hot stamping application on it. They might have a screen printing application on it. Smaller in volume, rather smaller run lengths, but very, very high in value add applications. As in comparison to your other beverages, you have just very standard colors on there, no value add applications, no special stuff on there, very large run length. So these are the two extremes that we have here: wine labels for spirits and spirits bottom top left, and beverages on the bottom right. So adding the technologies now here to fit all of these different requirements that your end customer basically will have. We're starting off with the bottom left. That's your thermal transfer and thermodirect printing process, something that we see quite common today, but these are very, very low productivity technologies. So something that is also on the very low end in terms of industrialization. Then we have the next one. Thank you, Alex, which is your inkjet and toner. I have to mention here that with inkjet, we mean your memjet technology. So this is also something that is quite higher in comparison to thermal transfer in terms of print quality, but still quite low in terms of productivity and industrialization level. The next one then is what we are basically talking about today. This is your industrial inkjet. This is where we're going today. This is the technology in digital that is taking over more and more and more. This is the technology that, or the trend in our printing industry where digital is going today. And then the next one, also very, very, very big trend that we see. And this is the combination where we have the digital in combination with your conventional printing. So this is your digital engine embedded in what we have known up until now for the past 30-something years with all of your conventional flexo presses. And as Alex mentioned today, we are mentioning flexo, but obviously this includes all the combination printing that you can do, being with screen printing as well, or your hot stamping, or whatever you can think on the flexo process side, embedded into a hybrid solution. And then the next thing is obviously here again, the flexo process, that process that we have known from the past, conventional, traditional printing for narrow web label presses. This is, you see here, you see it now also with the embellishment, and this works there with the two axes that we had, that the industrial with all the possibilities, the hybrid with all the possibilities that you have from both ends, you can cater to small and medium run lengths today because of the digital, which is still relatively slow, but you can also add high applications. With the flexo presses, obviously you're catering to the longer run lengths today. And also there you can service all the possibilities in terms of applications that you can have all the way from low all the way up to high end. And then the last one that Alex just added here now is your analog combination press. This includes, for example, also offset. So you have a combination between offset printing, between flexo, screen printing and everything, servicing all the high volume run lengths and also high-end, high value add applications as well. And today's focus basically is to explain you a little bit, give you an overview over all of this. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And it's not going to be basically giving or telling you one is better than the other. We still believe that the world today is all of these different processes are complementary to each other. So you will have your digital, and that digital space is for there. Then you will have your flexo only, as you see here, for your high volume still running, and you will have that in between, which is gaining where the trend is and which is picking up also in popularity, which is the hybrid solution, which combines everything. Coming to a couple of points to take this out there, just to show them and to show the advantages between those two, and we've put it into three categorizations now. We have digital, meaning that this is digital standalone. So this is just a reel-to-reel digital engine, just digital printing colors. Then we have the hybrid solution, whatever possibilities there are there, and there are countless possibilities. If you want to have upstream flexo capabilities for your primer where it is needed, or your spot color, and you want to have downstream flexo capabilities for your cold foil, or whatever there is. And then obviously also just the conventional, as we know it, just flexo, possibly with combination of screen printing or something like that, just no digital capabilities in there. And you see here, there are certain points here that, for example, if you go to the first one, special inks, and we're talking here not your, spot colors or something like this, but security inks, possibly with some special pigments inside, very special inks in terms of viscosity as well. There, today, digital inkjet does not have the possibility to work with those. We are moving there. They will be there at some point, but today, and this is all the situation we're talking of today, this is not possible. Hybrid and conventional, this is possible again, because with the hybrid, there's the possibility to make the combination where you can also add this application as well with the special inks. Same with spot color matching. Spot color matching is improving, has improved heavily over the past couple of years now, also with digital. But if you have been looking into digital, or if you're working with digital, you know that your extended color gamut cannot reach 100% of your full colors that you need to, or that the Pantone color gamut has. Whereas with hybrid and conventional, you can do that. You can do your color mixing, and then you can put that into your flexo station, for example. Tooling costs, this is another very important point. So your tooling costs, obviously, and we're talking here only about your colors. I'm not talking about die cutting cylinders or something like this, because this is something you'll always have to die cut your label in the end, your pressure sensitive label. But if you're looking at your printing from the printing side, there you will not have any tooling cost in digital, because there you only have your inkjet. This will drop the ink onto the substrate. You will not have your plate cylinders. You will not have any flexo plates. So all of these costs move away when you're on digital, and you will have those on the conventional side. In the hybrid, also there, depending on what kind of configuration you have on hybrid, if you have only your varnishing and then a die cutting, then this is also very limited. If you have full-blown upstream capabilities with flexo downstream, then this is somewhere in between. Ink costs, this is something that is changing gradually now. Ink costs today on the digital side are still relatively high in comparison. If you take your UV digital ink compared to your flexo UV ink, the costs are still relatively high. This is just because it's volume. This is a question of the volume. We are, and you will see this in a slide a little bit later on. Obviously, the install base is still relatively low in comparison from digital in comparison to conventional, and also the ink consumption is still relatively low. But as this grows, the costs for the ink and the prices for the ink will also come down. Sustainability, we have a lot of advantages on the digital side in terms of sustainability. We have less power consumption, you have less dryers. On your full-blown flexo press, you will have your UV drying on every station. On a digital press, you have 1 or 2 UV curing positions. That's it for curing on your digital engine. And you have a lot less web path going through the machine. So you have a lot less waste, you have a lot less setup time. So you will have in terms of sustainability, you have big advantages in your digital compared to your conventional. Something that's also becoming more and more important is the question of your skill level of your operators. As many of you may know from your own experience, it is more and more difficult to get your very skilled operators. So what are the requirements? So if you have a digital machine, digital only, it's all about pressing your buttons. So the level of your operator, the skill level of your operator will have to be a lot less, where you just have to learn to press the button. All of the skill on the digital is still there, you still need it, but it will be shifted to the pre-press. So everything done in pre-press, then the files are sent over to the press. All the operator does is basically first, of course, change the substrate if that's needed, then press the button to run the job, and then in the end, change the roll in the end as well. This is a little bit different if you're on the conventional side. There you need a full-blown, fully trained flexo printer, and this takes a couple of years to get a really good trained operator. On the hybrid side now, this is where you have to combine these two. So you, obviously, if you have a trained flexo printer and you have to teach him on a hybrid, it will be relatively simple to get that trained side from the flexo side and to teach him to press a couple of buttons. Then if you take a digital operator and then have to teach him to go into hybrid and teach him to have all that flexo capability. So that's depending on where you are going or where you're coming from and where you're going. This could be a little bit of a difference in terms of how to teach your operators on the new hybrid solution that you are looking at. The next point here that we have that is also combined with the previous point is your operator recruiting. It is very difficult to find people to come into our industry today, young people coming into our industry today, to have them as operators. And obviously, the young people today, they are a lot closer to digital. They are a lot, they don't like to get their hands dirty anymore today. So it will be a lot simpler just to train them on it or to get them to join your company to work on a digital press than to get their hands dirty on a conventional press. A couple of more points quickly here. Workflow, obviously very, very simple and easy on digital. As mentioned before, file goes to the press goes, runs everything through. Has improved also in conventional over the past couple of years, but still a lot simpler on digital. Time to market, same thing. When you get a job, you have to make your flexo plates and everything. You have to wait for those before you can go onto the press and print your job. On digital, you put this through the pre-press, send it to the press, and basically you're out there. Output, we have two different outputs here. We have volume in terms of square feet per hours. Due to the speed, where digital is limited today in comparison to conventional still, the output there is still lower. We're picking up. And if you have gone through the shows recently, if you've been to Label Expo in Chicago, you see that the productivity today and all the suppliers out there are putting their focus onto increasing the productivity for digital. So we are moving closer and closer to conventional on that side as well. In job variations, this is also you can stack your jobs and everything on digital, so it is a lot quicker. You have various jobs that can put through in one go on the digital side, whereas in conventional you will have to change your flexo plates and everything every time you change your job, so it takes a lot longer to do that. Variable data, one of the big advantages of digital. You can have industrial variable data where you just change for example, the QR code or numbering or something like this. You have certain versions, or you can have the full variable data even today where every single label is different. So, and this is also obviously if you have very large run lengths with a couple of 100,000 labels, or if you have just 100 labels that you need to print, everything's possible on digital. Substrate versatility. There we also, what I mentioned before, and what Alex also has said, we have certain limits today. If you're looking at your state stock, for example, if you're looking at shrink sleeves with inkjet, this is still challenging. We're working on it. And there have been some advancements made also, especially with state stock recently. So, but still, there is still an advantage if you look from the conventional side. Specialty is the same thing. You have the full versatility if you come from the conventional side, where you can have your haptic effects, you can have your tactile screen printing, varnish, you can have your high embellishments if you need it. So there, the advantage on the conventional side, digital, everything is moving digital in the end. We have certain suppliers out there that are able to give you solutions for your high built digital varnish today, or your metallic doming, for example. So there are solutions out there. Are they, in terms of industrialization, are they at the level for conventional? No, definitely not yet, but we're moving there. In general, also technology development. I mean, if you go through the shows today, Label Expo, you see that the trend is definitely digital and hybrid. So walking through the show, walking through Label Expo Chicago, you saw mostly digital hybrid, very little flexo. The next two slides, I want to point out, basically it's a little bit as a summary of what I just explained to you, but these are pain points coming from our customers. So we have done a customer survey, and this is now split into digital. The first part here is going to be only from the digital side, and there will be a second part that is coming from the conventional side. So these are comments coming from our customers that what are their pain points for these two different technologies. And with digital in this side, it is including digital and hybrid always. We always have to make that we have to make that clarification. So from a digital press only, one of the major pain points is ink and consumable costs. This is what I mentioned today. Ink costs are still relatively higher than your flexo inks because the volume is just not there yet. But this is changing as more and more digital inkjet presses are out there. Then we have the substrate application versatility. This is also what I just mentioned to you. There are certain substrate materials out there that are still a little bit challenging. Then we also have the guidelines for ink in terms of food compliance with digital inkjet, UV inkjet. This is also something that needs to be considered. And then also certain applications. Support and maintenance. Digital inkjet press needs maintenance. This is something that is a must. You need to change your filters and everything. So this is something that, in comparison, every press, also conventional press, needs your maintenance. But with the digital press, this is just something that needs to be done after a certain amount of time. And also the complexity in terms of the machine being less mechanical but more electronical. This is also a change between the two technologies. Print quality and speed, color consistency and print quality. You have your lines, that is always a topic with inkjet. You have your density and evenness. And this is also where today in the market you see the differences between the various suppliers. So this is where the suppliers that have managed to control this, to control your lines, your missing nozzles, to have technology, to have the software, to have the camera system that detects those missing nozzles, that detects the density and evenness, and can compensate all of this properly. This is the technology that the customers out there, this is what they need to look for. This is where the digital suppliers can differentiate themselves from each other. The ones that have managed to do that, they will bring inkjet technology forward. Those that not have been able to do that, those are the guys that will fall behind. And then also the speed. Big topic with speed. Speeds are being improved. All the suppliers are working on it to improve the speeds to the extent that we will break that TCO barrier towards Flexo, and where it will become more and more interesting going into digital with all the digital advantages that we have towards Flexo, and to come to bring that break-even point higher and higher and higher. Then coming to the conventional side, same thing here, pain points from our customers, skill level of the operators, what I explained also before. So you see all the points that I showed before, these are real pain points from our customers as well. So finding your qualified operators, finding willing operators to learn this technology, the old Flexo technology. Then you have your aging equipment. In your more mechanical presses, as the press becomes older and older, you have more mechanical parts which have more wear and tear. You have a lot less of that in your digital inkjet machines. And this is important, inkjet. There are digital machines out there that are also very mechanical. But in your digital inkjet, you have a lot less mechanical parts, so a lot less wear and tear issues in comparison here to your conventional Flexo presses. And then also, as the machine is getting older and older, you find it's more difficult to find parts, to get service, and also the costs for these parts become higher and higher and higher. Changeover and setup times, big topic comparison, conventional to digital, where changing all your colors and your Flexo plates and everything, your Anilox rollers on your Flexo press takes a lot more time. Then also consistency. It's a lot more difficult to run a repeat job, get exactly the same result on a Flexo press than it is on a digital inkjet press. On an inkjet press, you just press the button, and if everything is set up properly and the same thing comes from your pre-press, you will get 100% exactly the same result again. And then the waste, obviously, as well. A lot shorter web pass going through the press, a lot easier to register as well. So a lot less waste in a digital press than in a conventional press. This is what I mentioned before briefly. Here you see the various industries out there, the vertical markets that we have in terms of run lengths. This is for North America. And here, again, we are looking at Flexo on the one hand side, and we're looking at everything that includes digital. So also your hybrid machine, this is including digital here. And you see that there's still a very, very big difference in what is printed with Flexo and the amount of run lengths that are printed in digital. So you see that the industries typically that have longer run lengths, like your beverages and your food, are still a lot. There's still a lot in Flexo. There might be, your versioning or stuff like this, where this is printed in digital. Then it's also very interesting. You see your durables, automotive, and logistics. There you see also that looking only at the digital side here now, you see that the amount of labels that are printed in digital in your durables, in your automotive, and in your logistics varies a lot. So it really depends on what vertical market what industry you're looking at to see what how this is printed and where it really makes sense to maybe go in digital. If you're looking at your automotive, for example, there you have a BMW, and let's say from 2,000 labels, 1,500 labels will be printed the same. So this will be done in Flexo, obviously, but you will have your versioning where this is your serial number or something like this on the same thing, where you will have to go digitally with it. However, interesting here, you see Flexo 75%, close to 3/4, 72%, close to 3/4, digital over 1/4, so 26%, gaining rapidly, really, really rapidly over the past couple of years. This is really increasing very, very strongly. Alex, back to you.
Thank you. I'm going to talk a bit about what we've seen. That goes along the lines what Werner already mentioned, increases in label variations. Why are certain things happening? Why are certain things shifting? Everybody's talking about digital, 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 but I think we all need to understand why is it coming? Why is that shift? We've seen digital isn't the holy grail. It has a lot of advantages, but it also has some limitations. But what are we seeing? I found this very interesting study, and I think that's been done by, that's based on data from the US. And that's a study which NAPCO has done. And they went out and asked 100 label converters, how much did your label variations increase? And that shows, and that's not only valid for North America, that is a general trend which I believe is global. And this is not a trend which is short term. I believe this is something which is here to stay because it's here for a few reasons. If you see 20 of 100 saw a 1 to 10% increase, 18 saw 11 to 20, and so on and so on. But the majority saw an increase in variations of 32 to 40%. If we do the average out of those numbers, we can see an average increase in variations of 30%. That's almost a third. And that is one of the reasons. This is something we are seeing in the market. This is something we are seeing in demand. And this is something we are also seeing in the numbers of the average production growth by technology. This graph looks pretty drastic and dramatic, but trust me, it isn't. What we're looking at is the growth and the decline in Flexo. But if you look at the scale on the left side, you will see we've got a digital growth of something like 5.2%. And we've got a Flexo decline by minus 0.3% maybe, which is interesting because the market size itself is pretty much unchanged. That shows how much digital print increase you need just to cover up for a little bit of decrease in Flexo printing. Again, shows which volumes run on a Flexo versus what's run on a digital. Why do we see this? Why is this happening? Where do all the variations come from? Few reasons. Print buyers know about the capabilities and they demand them. It's been a different market 30 years ago where everybody knew, yeah, that's a lengthy process to set up. I need to order higher quantities. The market understands digital, the market demands digital. Mass customization and regionalization still on the rise. I'm definitely not talking about VDP because for labels, I don't see VDP where every piece is totally different, but mass customization. I'm doing a certain label for a sports event, for a wedding, for a holiday. That is something which drives your run length down. And this is something people like. People love it. Just look at yourself. I love it myself. And another reason, we still are a bit in a wacky economy. So people say like, yeah, we'll run a bit shorter. Our forecast would have been 150,000, but let's produce 50 and see how it sells. That is something which is definitely contributing to the growth in digital printing. On the other hand, why do we believe that Flexo printing sees a reduction? Comparably easy. We had during the pandemic, which we all don't want to get reminded of, a few shortages, limitations, and challenges, which people partially overcame afterwards with a panic reaction. Like, I don't want to run out of stock. I'll stockpile, I'll order more, and then I can keep producing. So those inventory reductions will continue. Inventory levels will adjust, and I guess that'll get back to previous volumes again. And again, slower demand. That pretty much is why digital is growing. Slower demand because of economical uncertainties. so I order and try to switch to on demand. So kind of mix of having a bit too much in stock, needing something new, and then changing my order quantity, my order mix with you. Having that said, and having all the talks we've done, market, technologies, let's take a quick look at understanding production cost. This is the part we've all been waiting for. It includes some graphs, it includes some drawings, and it includes some lines and a few numbers. Let's get into it. Understanding production cost. Just to get us all on the same page, what is production cost? When we talk to customers, a lot of them say definitely equipment, service, and very important, as soon as people are looking into a digital machine, ink. Yep, it is a very important part. However, when you look especially at digital or hybrid, there are a few more things we need to look into. Setup time. How long does it take us to prepare a job? How much manual adjustments do I have to do? As Werner mentioned, there comes a certain way of intelligence into it. How do I do the register? Do I need to do it with a loop or do I push a button? Waste. Don't forget waste. A lot of customers can set up jobs incredibly quick, but we need to be honest to ourselves. And we do have, in a 10-color machine, you do have quite some waste. Manpower, how many people do I need to run the machine? How many people do I need to operate? And last but not least, what about the availability? Does it help that my machine is running on a cheaper ink, but it is down every other week? That has a severe influence on your total cost of ownership. So going into a few examples, we've built something. We've taken a dog shampoo. If you've been at Label Expo, you might have seen us running it. It's one of our artworks. But it's pretty randomly selected, not necessarily optimized for digital. We've been running that file, by the way, and if you want to see the samples, please make sure to contact us afterwards. We've been running that file in different variations. We do have a fully digital version and we do have a hybrid version where we've done some embellishment, but that is not the topic now. But if you want to see it, please let us know and we're happy to send you some. So what have we done here? We've we're running that job on a flexo press. You can see typical flexo press behavior. Start is a bit high. Normally it would start even higher. So the lowest I'm showing is approximately 1,000 feet. And then we put a toner-based machine against it. Looks brilliant. Perfect job. That machine is behaving as it is expected. Toner machine, small machine, comparably slow machine, but definitely half of the cost. If you would look into the area below 1,000 feet, it would be even much cheaper compared to the flexo. Last but not least, we are adding the industrial inkjet, which we are talking about, into the comparison. What you can see, and everybody will say, yep, not a surprise, that guy is the product manager digital, that's why he's singing that song. But what you will see, in all honesty, we are starting comparably low. Easy, we are cheaper than flexo. I don't need to explain you why. Flexo has that high burden of tooling costs, setup time, and waste. So that is the big thing which flexo is having on the first, especially on the first few hundred feet. That is where we are cheaper. But now you say, why is he telling me that inkjet is cheaper? The reason here is speed, because we need to do all the calculation based on a machine which we are using 365 days a year. And if my speed is significantly higher, my running costs will get lower, although my investment into the equipment might again be higher. But running speed is an interesting and important component of the total cost of ownership. So if we look at it into a bit of detail, as you can see, as mentioned, the toner starts nice and it crosses over with the flexo at around 52 pieces. If we look at the industrial inkjet, we're at 170,000 pieces, 14,000 feet. Keep in mind, depends on the label. But as you can also see, this is the area where flexo will become cheaper. So it is very much a decision. What do I have to do and what do I need to achieve? I've not put hybrid into the mix because we can talk about it offline if any one of you is interested in it, because hybrid would shift the crossover point a little more to the right side, depending on how I set up my hybrid machine and how I run the job. A second example, again, a small label, a simple label this time, only 2.8 by 2 inches. We put it 6 across, CMYK, very much a product identification label, which then in this example would get the digital parts imprinted using a thermal transfer like the serial number. For sure, if we would take that into consideration, but we haven't. We're just talking about we'll print the static part, not going to compare it. So flexo, very much the same, starting at $14, going down quite nicely. Again, once we overcome the bump and the burden of the high starting cost. Toner, starting nice and cheap, but crossing over to the flexo comparably early. So the flexo again is making up the high start cost by running very, very fast. And here comes again industrial inkjet to complete the picture. 4,000 feet versus 18,000 linear feet. But again, it's also a label with no high coverage and not a lot of embellishment. But that's also really been to just illustrate where the technologies sit and which areas of the market you want to serve. Again, if you want to talk about your numbers and your files, feel free to reach out to us, and would love to take the time to go through it and work with your numbers, your cost, your files, and show you on some of your examples which technology would fit. Because that is one of the advantages. We do have all the technologies. We offer the technology. We don't need to do a calculation to show you that digital is the better solution. If it isn't for you, it needs to be the right solution for you and your business. Again, comparing it quickly, because we're running a bit short on time. In a nutshell, conventional versus digital printing. I'm pretty sure you read all of them. Comparably high cost, planning required because of tooling, longer lead times, but very attractive on long runs. That is where conventional and flexo printing is, as of today, almost unbeatable. Digital printing, attractive from the first print, and again, technology independent, because no matter what you go for. High flexibility, no tool logistic required, file, machine, print. Shorter and flexible lead times and very attractive on shorter runs. But again, on the longer runs, the conventional ones will be ahead. Just a very quick look at this slide. Pretty sure you've seen it. That's based on data from FINAT. It's worldwide. The brownish colors are talking about the different areas and the market growth for digital printing equipment, meaning what we as manufacturers sold into the market. Comparing 2013 to 2024 or 2023, because that's a complete year, you will see a drastic change. The digital units have grown really big, whereby the conventional units have lost a bit of ground. A few reasons for it. The conventional units have a long lifetime. A lot of small units are also included in the number. This is not only industrial solutions, this is all digital. But you can see in which direction the market is currently heading, and it is going digital. When looking at the market in general, and when we listen to what the market wants, and I'm going to cut this really short because we are running short on time and I don't want to overdo it. Limited availability of flexo press operators. That seems to be in pretty much every region. I'm European and I'm hearing that in Europe and I'm hearing it in the US. You can't find flexo press operators, especially the really good ones. They seem to be even more challenging to find. Service, more critical issue than in the past. We need parts, we need people. That's been a bit disrupted also by the pandemic. We are all recovering, but we do understand this is a very important and crucial part for your business. Enhanced remote diagnostics and support. Clearly, the fastest fix is if no technician needs to come. So remote diagnostics needs to increase. We are doing it via predictive service that we can prevent your machine from failing by fixing it before. Training, customers, our customers want more detailed training. That is a crucial thing, not only for the operating stuff, but also for the maintenance staff. Meaning training offering needs to be more flexible and more adaptable. Speed and quality. Again, we've spoken about it, Werner mentioned it. One of the things, we are improving the speed and we are improving the quality of digital presses. That is why the digital presses are getting more and more popular. But again, we are not there where the market expects us to fully replace flexo units. Advanced automation, everybody's looking for that. How can I automate stuff? Can I turn on the machine automatically? We can do that on our digital units. It starts up at 7. So when your first shift arrives, the machine is ready and operational. Affordability, especially for smaller and mid-sized converters, that is something, where we are all looking into and at. A machine needs to be affordable. But again, as we've seen in the calculations for total cost of ownership, don't focus too much on equipment pricing. You can't ignore it. I understand because money is money, but still always take that into consideration and do your math. Operator training, maintenance, self-sufficiency. Also, that is something which is becoming more and more a thing where customers are asking. We are working very closely with a lot of our good customers to get them more self-sufficient, less dependent on us. So, getting closer to the end of the presentation, I wanted to for sure quickly show you what we as Gallus are having up our sleeves and how we see things. Let's talk about what we call industrial inkjet packaging. Where do we start? Workflow. Workflow is important. You now have a machine which is not running 200 meters a minute, but 70 meters a minute, but your run lengths are much shorter. So you need to make sure you get enough files onto that machine. On a flexo press, where you have to change every 4 hours or 3 hours the job, or 2 hours, now it's different. Now you will need to change 15 jobs on the machine. So you need to have the workflow in place and under control. That's something where we can help you with. Ink. We've spoken about it mainly with the regards to pricing, but ink is also a very, very important part of the finished product. So it needs to be a constant product in a constant supply in an on-time delivery. We are doing our inks ourselves. Our inks are optimized for label printing. Our inks are kind of purpose-made for that market. Predictive service, that goes along the maintenance part, wear and tear, reducing downtime. We are doing our best that that we catch failures, that we catch them early enough, and that we replace parts where we expect them to fail before they fail, because nothing is more expensive than a broken machine. Inkjet technology, reliability, repeatability, highest quality, that is what we've built in our system at the moment. All based on automation, semi-automation, making it operator independent. And last but not least, our DNA, the press, the transport, the options, the modules, a very, very important thing. When you look at a press, look at the transport, we all know how sensitive it is and how partially challenging it can be to transport a substrate in the same position through a 10, 12, 14 meter machine. This is where we are coming from. This is where we are having our base. And based on that, I would like to almost finish the presentation with a short video about our approach and where we think we can help you with to stay ahead of the market, grow your business, and thrive. Welcome to our system to compose. So, thank you very much. We've been almost talking for an hour. I'm very proud. We finished at minute 59, so nobody can complain that we overdid it. I hope we have still a lot of participants on the call and that people which are still on the call enjoyed our presentation, and we've managed to put something together which is giving you new food for thought and helping you to make qualified decisions.
Yeah, definitely some food for thought came in from the chat. So thank you both very much for the overview. Thank you for your TLMI sponsorship. We are technically at 1 hour. You do have some folks still on, and you have a question or two in the Q&A. Do you have a moment that you want to stay on and answer that question, or I can pass it to you after the fact?
I'm fine.
We'll go for it, huh?
Okay, so it's what trends do you notice, if any, for expanded gamut, fixed palette printing, and flexo versus digital printing?
I would have thought I could answer that one quickly, but then I've read the entire question and I figured out that this is also related to flexo printing versus digital printing. Mm-hmm. Because for digital printing, I think it's comparably easy to answer. Everybody's looking for a color gamut as big as possible, and that leads into the trend to add additional colors. Like we've got 6 colors. because we optimize and trying to find the balance. Do I need 6 colors or do I need 8 or 9 colors? Where you always got cost versus cost on return on investment. For the flexo printing part, everything I would say would be professional guessing. But unless Werner, you can answer it, I would have said we definitely like to take that question offline and have an interesting conversation with whomever we need to pull into that conversation.
I would agree to that, yes.
No, that's great. Well, since we're at time, we'll leave it at that. But let me just make a couple really fast announcements from TLMI. So thank you again, both of you, for joining us. Thank
you.
everyone for putting up with
Thanks
me
for
instead
having
of
us.
Jack, our normal person for webinars. Just a couple reminders that Committee Summit registration is open. So we'd love to see you down in Clearwater, Florida for that event, December 4th and 5th. So just check the website for that. If you aren't a TLMI member and you've joined us today, please reach out to me. I'm Dale Coates. You can reach me through the website, and I'd be happy to talk with you about TLMI membership and what's involved there. And these guys are some of our fantastic platinum sponsors. Gallus has been a platinum sponsor the last few years. We so appreciate that, and that's what's allowed them to join us here for this Lunch and Learn today. So thank you again for all your time. Thank you, presenters, for the information. It was very, very good. We have recorded this and we will be sharing it out to the audience and putting it in TLMI community. So you'll have an opportunity to share this presentation with others at your organization as well. So thank you guys again. Any final words of wisdom for our audience, or we'll let them go off to lunch?
I think it's time for lunch.
Dinner in your case.
An hour of wisdom now.
That's great. Well, thank you guys so much. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks for hosting.
attending.
Thanks for having us.